All right, folks, welcome back to Duty's Daggers. We have a really exciting sort of video idea today. Not an original idea, but a cool idea nonetheless. But first, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, duties_daggers. That way you'll be all up to date on what we're doing with the channel. We have hangouts, we have live streams. There's a lot of just cool stuff that we do. So, the idea for this video is from Metal Complex, I think. He had I was watching one of his shorts the other day, and he had this short where he was talking about his most expensive knife, his least expensive knife, the knife that everyone wants to buy from you, and it's a list of like I don't know 7 or 8 of these types of questions about his collection, and he would show the knife and whatever. So we're gonna do that, but it's gonna be in a video format, not a short. So I don't know if he was the first one to do it or whatever, but gotta give him credit. His idea. I'm gonna take a sip of coffee here. So the first item on the list is my most expensive knife in my collection. Now this was kind of hard for me because my Hinderer XM18. If you count the scales and the hardware, or the scale rather, this is the most expensive knife. New, these are around $425. The scale was $200. And I just got this new filler tab, which is really badass. Way too expensive for what it is, but it's a limited edition. I think it's called Rick's Special Tab or something like that. This was $35. The blue luck bar stabilizer was like, I don't know, 40. So if you count all the things that I've added onto this knife, it's the most expensive. I got this used though. I paid around $380 for it. So actually, you know what? That's still the most expensive knife. That's still the most expensive knife. Because I have another one that I paid $375 for. So $380. This is the most expensive knife in my collection. And with all the mods, let's see, 580. That's almost like $650 with everything I've added on here. That's an insane amount of money for a knife. I know. But this is a very special knife to me. Very, very special because this was kind of the pinnacle of the knife world for me. This was the pinnacle of knife that I wanted in my collection ever since I first started collecting knives. I first started collecting knives. I saw a Hinderer. I started watching videos on Hinderer XM18s, Eclipses, all the Hinderer models. And I fell in love with them. I wanted one so bad for so long. And they were just a little too pricey for me. Until pretty recently, I was able to get my first one, this one right here. Hinderer XM18 Spanto blade with a choil and flipper. This one came with a JG10 show side. Now it has a titanium working finish show side scale. The lock side is a working finish titanium with the special filler tab. It has a little horse and a horseshoe on it. And I actually just ordered some blue hardware for it. I got some blue barrel spacers and the nuts here. So it's just a fantastic knife. Action is absolutely out of this world. Flipper. Thumb stud is actually my favorite way to open the knife. It just pops out so nicely, despite being such a heavy blade. This is very thick behind the edge. Not the most practical slicer. It'll slice for sure, but it's just it's a badass overbuilt work of art. I absolutely love it. I really, really love it. So this is the most expensive knife in my collection. Let's move on to the next one. Next category, the least expensive knife in my collection. That would be this beauty right here. So a while back I did a video about the cheapest knives on Amazon. that were under, I think it was under $15. Now this knife was around $8. So cheapest knife in my collection, and it's a real piece of crap, but it's an automatic, which is kind of crazy. Amazon sent this to me. They're not supposed to, really. I live in California where these are illegal to carry. Um, Amazon decided to send it to me anyways. It's a real piece of crap. It's got, I don't even think it says the blade steel. It says Doom Blade right there. Really horrible grind. Um, it's just, this jimping is like, what the hell is that? They're like little triangular bumps. The blade is really thin, and there's a lot of space in between it and the scales liners. Um, this wood inlay is loose. I can't tighten it because it's stripped. Um, it does have a safety, which is this little switch down here. So that's good. The pivot is just a regular Phillips head pivot. Comes loose constantly. Um, Tons of blade play. Massive, massive blade play. I would never use this knife. I feel like it would just blow apart on me. But I keep it because, it's the cheapest knife in my collection. And it does make kind of a cool sound, actually. You know? Kind of cool. So, cheapest knife in my collection. Don't even know what it's called. Probably Doom Blade, I guess. And, yeah, that's the cheapest knife in my collection. Next, the knife that everyone asks about buying. That would be the Tucson TS300. I get a lot of comments, people asking to buy this knife. Probably because it's only available sometimes at White Mountain Knives. It comes into stock once in a while, but you can't just go buy this knife. You have to wait for it to come back into stock. And this one is special because it's actually an older model. Back before a certain, I don't know when the cutoff was, but they used to not put the model numbers of the knife on the blades, and now they do. So I got one that was older, made with 14C28N, which they used to use as well. So this is kind of a special one. I don't know if you order one now, you'd probably get one with the model number on it and probably a different blade steel, maybe. I don't know I think they started using D2 maybe or something. But I really love this knife. I will never ever sell it because it was a gift from my buddy Diener. And I really love it. It's a badass looking knife, man. It really is. Just an aggressive Tonto blade. The hollow grind down here is nice and thin. Thicker up here at the flat. Love how they do the contouring. It's mega, mega smooth with the skiff bearings installed on it. It's a reverse flicker only. So, it's awesome. You can thumb flick it too. Never sell this guy, ever. So, don't even need to ask. But if you are patient enough, keep checking back at White Mountain Knives because they do become available once in a while. I know one of my subscribers, Aaron B., just got one, and he said he's loving it. So, it is possible to get. Just got to be a little patient. Tucson TS300. All right, the next category. The knife that is least likely to be owned by somebody else. And that would be my custom fixed blade I made because there's literally only one of them in the world. I made this little pocket sheath for it as well. Leatherworking is not my specialty, but I think I did an okay job. I just kind of stitched a Spyderco clip onto it. Not the best way to do it. It's a little kind of flimsy, but it does keep it in your pocket. I made this completely from scratch. This was just a bar of 1095 steel and made it completely from scratch. This was my first attempt at a full flat grind, and I think I actually did a pretty good job. There's obviously flaws in it, but not bad at all. My plunge lines are pretty clean. This one's better than the one on the other side. How I did it was I made a file guard, basically two pieces of steel with bolts going through either side. So there was the blade was clamped in between these two bars of steel, and you clamp it right at the plunge line. So when you hold this up to the grinder, the belt cannot go past that point, that bar, and that's really helpful to get a much cleaner plunge grind. So that was very helpful. A lot of hand sanding. I really don't have the right tools for knife making. I have a little 3 by 21 inch belt sander. It's one of the hand belt sanders, so I have to clamp it upright in my vise and hold this up to it to grind in my bevels. Really not ideal, um, but you can make it work. It just takes more time. So a lot of hand sanding. These scales are natural micarta, which I really, really like how they look. The pins are brass. It just, I love this thing. I love the end grain too. It just looks so good. Full tang, obviously. I cut the jimping in myself. Not the most even, but not horrible. It works well. I really love this blade shape. It originally was actually more of a drop point, but I lived with that for a month or two, and then I thought, you know what? I need to shorten it. It was a little too long for the handle, and I just wanted the sheep's foot. So I shortened it, and I like it much more now. It's more EDC size. I can get my pointer finger all the way to the tip for draw cuts. Put a nice edge on it. And from what I can tell so far, I actually did a pretty decent job with the heat treat. I sharpened it. It felt good on the stones. It felt hard. And, using it, this edge is holding up pretty well. Not like incredibly well. Kind of probably similar to D2's edge retention, which is fine with me for an amateur. So this is the knife that people would be least likely to own because there's only one in the world. The Duty's Dagger, custom fixed blade. All right, next category, the first knife in my collection. I don't count, the years before I started collecting because I would just go into Big Five or whatever sports store and just buy the cheapest Kershaw or Gerber or SOG that they had there. I don't count those. So the first knife that I got when I first started really researching and kind of learning about the knife world was the Ontario Rat Model 2. This used to be the absolute king of budget knives, and it still actually is a really good choice. I think they're somewhere around like $40, $45 now. They come in D2 now. They used to be, I think, AUS 10 maybe, or AUS 8 even. This comes in D2. This one I actually acid washed the blade myself. So it used to be a satin blade. I really like how it turned out. It turned out really nice. Put a high polish edge on it. I still use this guy from time to time if I want, a beater. And really, the thumbstud action is still excellent. This thing just pops out nicely. I do have a little bit of blade play if I want it to be this nice and smooth, but that's okay. They come in different options, and you can tell by the clip this has been carried quite a bit. Still really good ergonomics. You got a choke up spot, but this little flat area right here. You have a little bit of a thumb ramp. Not quite as low of a tip as I would like. I only in the last couple years really found that sheep's foot Warncliffe style blades were my favorite. This is just a great knife. There's a Model 1 as well, which is larger, but this one I think is really a good EDC size. So this is my first knife. My second ever was the QSP Penguin, and after that my knife collecting career really took off. So I would still recommend this knife to someone just starting out, but there's so many other good budget options now. Civivi, Kaiser, Kubi. There's so many good budget knives now, but this still is a good choice. So first ever knife, the Ontario Rat Model 2. Next, my most recent knife acquisition. That will be the ProTech Malibu PVK Vegas exclusive version in blacked out and 3V blade steel. Um, I've been really into button locks for a while, more low end button locks, and everyone always told me that's nothing compared to the Malibu. The Malibu is the greatest button lock of all time. And I believed them, but I just never really had an opportunity to get one until recently. My buddy Jason sent me his, which actually I still have here. And the first time I flipped it, I realized everyone is right. This is the best button lock ever made, and I need to have one for myself. Luckily, they became available on PVK Vegas soon after, and I was able to get one. And in fact, at the time of this video, they are still there. So I'll put a link to PVK Vegas down below, and you can get one. I think they're around 280 or 260. I think they were 260. It's the best button lock ever made. The flipping action is incredible. Snappy detent. For a button lock, that's really impressive. A lot of the lower end button locks have not been able to achieve that crisp breakaway. ProTech they did it right. It comes in this, they call it a reverse Tonto. I would call it a sheep's foot or Warncliffe. But there's also another version that's more of a Warncliffe, I guess, than this. I don't know. This is the blacked out version, like I said, and the coating on this aluminum is unlike any I've seen. It's smooth, but it also has a little bit of texture in it. It's weird. It feels really good. DLC coated blade. No branding anywhere except a little bit on the spine right there. It's just classy, man. It's really classy. The pocket clip works amazingly well. Super smooth button. I mean, it had button stick when I first got it, but it's already almost gone. And as soon as you push the button, the blade, it's like it gets sucked back in to the closed position. It's really amazing. I love this knife so much. I see what everyone is talking about. They were right. It's the best button lock of all time, and I'm really happy to have it in the collection. All right. Next, the weirdest knife in my collection. I think that would probably be the Spyderco Rhodey. This is just a very odd looking knife. This is a little slip joint by Spyderco, and it's weird, man. It's a slip joint. It's not like any other slip joint I've ever seen, mostly because of this just odd hump right here, and it has dimples on either side of that, so that you can pull it out. I mean, even if they weren't there, you'd still easily be able to grab this and pull it out, which kind of makes it that much more weird because they're really not needed. But they're there, and it's just weird. It's a Spyderco slip joint. It's N690 blade steel, and you have a choke up spot. So if you're choked up right here, you can actually still get a full grip on this thing, which is good because the blade can't close on you with your finger choked up like that. So that's good. It's kind of a sheep's foot / Warncliffe humped blade, whatever you want to call it. Of course, it has a Spyderco hole in the blade, as all Spydercos need to have. Pretty thin behind the edge, and polymer handles, or maybe they're, I don't know, some sort of hard plastic because I can't even really flex it that much. So that's good. It makes it feel more solid. Not the best walk and talk ever. Decent snap shut. The half stop is not super poppy, or neither is going to the open position. But that's fine with me. It doesn't really bother me that much, and it's just a great tiny little slip joint. This often gets put into my fifth pocket, at least it used to until it got replaced by the McB here. This might also be one of my weirder knives. It's just so small, and typically people think, why would you want a knife that small? It's not practical, but for me, this is an absolute perfect backup knife. I carry this every single day, at least since I got it, and it's just really useful. It's very, very useful. So either of these might be my most weird knife, and turns out they're both Spydercos. Next, the oldest knife in my collection, and that would be this knife that was handed down to my grandfather from his dad, and then my grandfather to me. This is very special. I would love to get this sort of cleaned up one day. You can see that's been sharpened to quite a bit, so there's really no tip on the this clip point blade anymore. Um, Same with this one. It's just been sharpened to oblivion. And then there's this thing. I think it's an awl maybe, or some sort of like, maybe it's a pipe cleaner, not really sure. So it's got three blades. I love the scales. I'm really not sure what kind of material this is. It feels like plastic-ish, but it doesn't really look like any kind of plastic. Maybe it's a kind of resin. But this scale is kind of popping up right here. So I'd love to get this fixed one day and just cleaned up and sharpened. This is pretty special. I remember my grandpa, he carried this for quite a while growing up, and then eventually he stopped carrying it and he put it on a shelf next to a picture of his dad. So this was special to him, and when he died, we were at his house looking through stuff, and I saw this by the picture, and I thought, I think he would want me to have that. There's an inscription on the blade. It says Kingston, right down there. Never heard of Kingston before. I don't know if this is like, a budget knife back in the day, or a nice knife. I just have no idea. If anyone knows anything about it, let me know. But regardless, this is going to be in my collection forever. It's a piece of history, a piece of my family, and it's awesome. It's badass. And lastly, the favorite knife in my collection. That is really, really hard. I really, really love every knife in my collection. It's in my collection because I love it. I've bought every knife in my collection except a couple gifts from friends. But it would probably most likely be the Hinderer. But we already showed the Hinderer, so in very, very close second would be my Sharp by Design Apex. This is the second most expensive knife I've ever bought. New, they are $375. I got this one used, and I traded a few knives plus some cash to get it, but it was brand new in box when I bought it from this guy. So it was brand new. It's just fantastic. It's designed by Brian Nadeau of Sharp by Design, and it's fantastic. It really is absolutely fantastically designed and made. It's made by Riot, designed by Brian Nadeau, and it's just amazing. We have an S90V blade with a Tonto grind. It's hollow ground down here, very thin, flat up here. These grinds just look incredibly crisp and precise. Large cutout in the blade for the reverse flick. This has got to be some of my favorite reverse flicking ever in the history of my handling knives. It's just incredible. And part of the reason for that is there's no detent ball in here. It's Brian Nadeau's, it's not patented, but it's his thing. It's the detent nub. So basically, you see the steel lock bar insert right there, and then at the top of that, there's a little nub that sticks out, and that serves as the detent ball. So as a result of it being up towards the edge there, you break the detent. There's no double clutch before it locks out. If you look at every other knife with a detent ball, you break the detent, and then there's this point here where the detent ball jumps off the tang of the blade. You can feel it right there. And then it locks out. And then when you go to close it, you disengage it, and then it stops right here, and the detent ball has to jump back up on the tang. Then once it's up there, you can swing it shut. There's that little limbo area is not present on this knife. It's just break the detent, clean, 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 locked out. So not only is that really nice for disengaging, you disengage it, you don't have to worry about that detent jumping back on. You just freely swing it shut. So not only that, but the nub gives you such a crisp breakaway, man. Absolute crispest detent I've ever felt. Hands down. You can even kind of hear it. It's amazing. The flipper tab, incredible, but reverse flicking really is my favorite. It feels unlike any other knife I've ever flipped, ever. So, not to mention the action is amazing. The construction is amazing. This is a blue anodized aluminum inlay here. It's flawless. It is absolutely flawless. You can't even tell a difference running your finger over it. It's incredible. On this side, part of it's covering up that lock bar. Looks just so good. It looks so good. I love how the surface of the scale kind of swells up around the pivot there. Such a good look on both sides and on this hardware for the lock bar, steel lock bar insert. Kind of swells up like that. Just the lines on this thing are so flowy and just futuristic looking. I love it. I really love it. I also love this area back here. I love how this comes and kind of just rounds off right there. And then we have this seam where the two scales meet, which is absolutely flush. You can barely even see it. These kind of jimps milled in here. The pocket clip looks amazing. Not very comfortable, but it looks amazing. And, you got the hole in the blade, or in the handle. It's just, it's incredible. I really would love to have more of his designs in the collection. I would love to get the front flipper version of this knife. I would also love to get the Mini Tempest, which is his front flipper dedicated design. That's going to be my next brand to do for sure. But every single one of his production knives, I think, is incredible. That's a goal of mine, is to have every one of his production knives in the collection. Probably pretty difficult to get all of them, but I can at least get the Mini Tempest. They do pop up on the secondary market seldomly, but they do pop up. I love this knife so much. And then, obviously, the Hinderer is probably my favorite. Like I said earlier, it's just it's significant to me in other ways other than just the knife itself. It kind of signifies working towards getting something that you really want and making it happen, So that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know in the comments what your favorite knife is in the collection. And let's do one other one. Let me know what the weirdest knife in your collection is. I want to know your favorite knife in the collection and your weirdest knife in the collection. So let me know that in the comments. Thanks for watching. I love y'all. See you in the next one. Peace.